Welcome to the Sales Dojo podcast. The podcasts are here to help you address the real issues salespeople face every single day.
So we've got 3 people. We've got 3 posts to share, and we've got about 3 minutes to do the podcasting, which is good. It's all about the threes today. So let's start, first of all, with your share, Susie.
Yes. So I've gone rogue this week. I've gone to Instagram for my share.
Down with the kids.
And it's from a guy called Julien Blanc. And if you want to find him on Instagram, his handle is Julien himself. And Julien is spelled Julien himself. And it's got nothing to do with sales at all. But it's a very, very interesting experiment. Now, if you're listening to this, you'll have to imagine the scene because it's a little video. Julien is standing on a stage with a participant, and he's just about to ask the member of the audience, what does this person think of you? And so you'll hear different voices, and one of them will be his asking her the question, one will be her saying what she thinks of them, and then one will be an audience member sharing what they think. So just have a listen to this, and then we'll talk about the message I took for this and how we can apply this in sales.
You ready?
Yes.
She is thinking of you. Try to guess.
That I'm dumb. I don't know.
Whoa. Are you thinking she's dumb?
Sure. No.
What were you thinking?
She has a pretty Brazilian look.
Interesting.
Hold on.
What do you think Tim with the cap is thinking of you?
I think he likes me.
I think they should be in tier 3. I think you look a little bit like a Zendaya.
What do you think her with her hand on her chest is thinking?
That, I don't know, I'm awkward.
What were you thinking of her?
I like your earrings.
Interesting, huh? What do you think he's thinking of you?
He's judging me on my looks.
What were you thinking of her?
I'm actually triggered myself and in my own head.
He wasn't even thinking of you at all. So this example here, by the way, it just shows how there's the narrative going on and then there's reality. Stories, facts. You're being gaslit inside and it's always going to the negative, to the negative, to the negative. But it's not reality.
So there we go. A little video or a soundbite if you're listening this to kick us off. Chris, this reminds me so much of what you and I talk about in training around the spotlight effect. And I just thought it was super interesting because this girl was brave enough to stand on stage and put into words what she thought people were thinking of her. And in 3 out of the 4 cases, really, they weren't thinking about the girl at all. And so I think it was really interesting to see this. And what does this apply, or how does this apply to sales? Well, I think often we think that our customer is thinking something about us or our prospect, and they're not paying any attention to us or what we're doing or our world at all. And so it's so important to understand that when we're calling them or contacting them or reaching out to them. So Chris, tell us a little bit more about the spotlight effect, and also tell me what you think of this little video.
You know what my first thought was, and this kind of fits in to the narrative. If this Julien Blanc had said, if he'd said, "What do you think Chris is thinking of you?" he might come up with something. I was actually thinking, how much cooler are names in French? He's just called Julian White, isn't he? But in French, it's Julien Blanc. And I was like, that's far cooler. It's like Thierry Henry, isn't it? Or Terry Henry. Spotlight effect that you mentioned. Yeah, it does fit into this. Very simply, we all live under our own spotlight, which means that 95% of your waking day, you are thinking about yourself. Not in a narcissistic, egotistical way, but you're thinking about your worries, your thoughts, your hunger, your money problems, your joys, your delights, your family member, whatever it might be. Me. And we've had to evolve because you've got to look after yourself. You've got to be in your own spotlight. And this is where when we're talking to salespeople and they go, "Hi, I'm from this company and we do this and we do that and we're amazing and we've won an award," what you've got to remember is your customer or prospect is sat there thinking about their team, their business, the problems in their industry at the moment, what they've got to get done that day. They're stood one place under their spotlight. You're stood somewhere else under your spotlight. These messages just don't get across. The bit I really take from this And I think it's a really interesting experiment. And it would be easy to pull it apart a bit and go, well, surely when asked what they were thinking, people could just make something up. But it's, we tend to externalize what our inner monologue is saying. So if you ever meet somebody who seems really snappy or short or angry, it's just the externalization of what's going on internally. Yeah, we immediately think it's us. What have I done? Why are they angry with me? Oh my God. No, they're angry at something in their own head and it's coming out. Whether they're mean, happy, boisterous, whatever, we externalize our inner turmoil quite a lot, or our inner joy. So it's very interesting if you ask people the questions this guy was asking, because he's judging me on my looks. Well, that says to me there's a bit of an internal monologue she has with herself about how she looks. Or judging me on where I come from. Well, that tends to be your overpowering internal voice that is worried about that. So you externalize that onto everybody else. Let's get back to being a sales podcast, eh, Susie? Sorry, I went off on one then. What does this mean? Well, when you call somebody up and they go, I'm not interested, as a salesperson, quite often we react. It's a bad day. Everybody hates me. God, cold calling doesn't work. It's rubbish. Well, you just called them at a bad time. Or you've just not said anything particularly interesting because it was about your spotlight, not about their spotlight. I think it's absolutely fascinating that I could watch these experiments all day long. Ultimately, for me, it's turn your inner monologue off, get into their world, get under their spotlight. What are they worried about? I've done a load of work with a finance organization on this recently, utilizing AI, and I made a live sales call. We literally created this script 30 seconds earlier. And I said, hey, sounds like I've caught you in the middle of something. Let me explain why I was keen to speak to you. We speak with a lot of, I don't want to give away what it was, fill in the blanks. Two biggest bits of feedback we're getting is, this is a challenge because of this changing legislation. And this is becoming more and more difficult to do because the cost of this has gone through the roof. I'm guessing you're going to tell me neither of those things have affected you yet, though. Nice, simple call opener. The response was, I'm a bit too busy to take your call, but you sound like you clearly know what you're talking about, so I'd like to have a chat. And it wasn't that I clearly knew what I was talking about. I was clearly talking about her spotlight, her world. And what do we all love to talk about? Ourselves. It engages people straight away. I've now used all the time we had for the podcast today. So thanks for listening, everyone. And good night. Leon, I'll pass the baton to you. Sorry.
That's okay. I like listening to you when you talk about this stuff, Chris. You're pretty cool on that. I think the only thing I thought of, I first of all thought that girl was really brave. Like some of the things that she was saying in front of a group of people, I felt really fucking had a knot in my stomach for her. She was clearly very vulnerable in that situation. The thing that I thought of when it came to this post was the Maya Angelou quote: people forget what you say, forget what you do, they never forget how you make them feel. And that's the key thing whenever you have an interaction with someone, is how you make them feel. Like what you say is not that important. What you do is genuinely not that important. How you make them feel. If you make them feel listened to, welcome, excited, happy, then that's what they remember equally. If you make them feel like they shouldn't be there, awkward, or a dick, then they'll never ever forget that on you. So good share, Susie. I really liked it. And you're right, Chris. My name in French would sound amazing.
What would you be in French?
I guess it would be something, whatever French for cow is, and male. So was it chien, Leon? I don't know. Anyway, let's not get into
Isn't that dog in French? Le chien.
Maybe it's le chien.
Leon Biff.
Biff.
Leon Le Boeuf.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, immediately sounds better.
There you go. It's just going to change my name via Depot. Chris, you shared a post, which is from Daniel Pink.
Yes, love Daniel Pink. Daniel, if you're listening, read all your books. If you're watching the YouTube video, which you can now see the Sales Dojo on YouTube, I'm very sorry, my sausage dog Eric has just joined me, but it was the only way to keep him quiet while we're recording. You can sit still there, Eric. You know what? I'll let you play this video. Again, I've shared some off Instagram. Go and follow Daniel Pink. always sharing really interesting, like behavioral psychology stuff. I thought this is really useful. If you manage salespeople, you're a sales coach. Have a listen to this.
I have a daughter named Maria, and Maria has a messy room, and you want Maria to clean her room. The two questions you could ask Maria are this. Maria, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 meaning I'm not ready at all, 10 meaning I'm ready to do it right now, how ready are you, Maria, to clean your room? So she says, Dad, I'm a 2. Well, here's where the second question comes in, and it's a really interesting counterintuitive question. You say to Maria, why didn't you pick a lower number? So here's what happens. Maria has to explain why she isn't a 1, okay? And so she says, if I had my room cleaner, I'd be able to get to school on time faster and maybe see my friends a little bit more. What happens? Maria begins articulating her own reasons for doing something. And this is really axiomatic in sales and persuasion. When people have their own reasons for doing something, not yours, they believe those reasons more deeply and adhere to the behavior more strongly. Let's say that you have...
Thank you very much. So, again, Susie, so like what we train out on a regular basis, somebody's internal voice is infinitely more persuasive than what you say to them. We all sell ourselves on anything that we want. Yeah, we've all made ridiculous purchases, and it's because the internal voice is all powerful. In sales terms, I'll be having conversations about sales training sometimes. I'll say, hey, you know what? There's a million ways you could develop your team that are maybe a bit less budget, more cost effective. What is it about in-person training that you think will work? So I'm not telling them why in-person training will work. I'm getting them to think about it themselves, because their little voice in their head is infinitely more powerful than any sales pitch that I can give them. And this is where asking questions and getting people to think is so much more powerful than pitching people, he says, doing that really annoying quotes thing with his fingers. Susie, I know we discussed this with so many teams all over the world, don't we? And I love some of your takes on this.
I love a scale question. On a scale of 1 to 5, how likely are you to want to work with us on this particular project? Right? Very pushy question, you might say, but you can get a general steer and you can find out where somebody is. And I really appreciate the go below part that Daniel Pink talks about here, right? So often what we're inclined to do is say, okay, you gave me a 3 out of 5. What would make it a 4? Like, tell me what it needs to, which is also a perfectly good question to ask. But what I love about this approach is you say, why didn't you choose a 2? And it gets them to tell you everything that's good or the reasons, and you can really understand them as well. So I love the scale question. I think it's great to ask. If you've got someone with a competitor, on a scale of 1 to 5, how's it going for you right now? There's various uses of this question. If you're coaching your sales team, on a scale of 1 to 5, how confident do you feel about this deal closing? On a scale of 1 to 5, how ready do you feel or prepared do you feel for that meeting on Monday? Like, there's all sorts of ways you can use it. And it's a very, very soft, I find a soft approach to get somebody talking. Now, ironically, we have a teenager at home who has a very, very messy bedroom. So I need to try this on teenager mode. I use it a lot in sales, but I haven't tried it yet on a 15-year-old. So I will report back next week and let you know how it went.
I really like the gap conversation on any point scoring system. So whether it's at the top or the bottom. So I often use this when people, when you say to people, rate yourself on this, and they'll, if it's 1 to 10, they inevitably say fucking 7 because it's the lazy score that everyone gives. They're not too committal. It's not too low. But then I would always say, well, what's 8, 9, or 10? What's missing then? Because when you focus on what their score is, whatever the score is, that's just a fact about right now. When you talk about the gap between the top and the bottom, that's when you get them opening up to thinking about, what have I got in me? What can I do? What have I missed? What can I think? And there's such a better way. So whenever I do these rating kind of things with people, I'll always talk about often the top end of it, because it's, rather than trying to motivate someone to do something, we're usually talking about appraisals or how they rate themselves in something. And often when you ask about the gap, you'll see that light bulb moment where they go, if they see themselves a 7 and you go, well, what's an 8, 9, or a 10? And they tell you, they'll then go, well, actually, I'm probably an 8. Like, brilliant. So that's really useful, referring to the post before as well, about confidence, getting people to reassess where they put themselves, because it is basically unless you're doing a test of your height or your weight and they're factual, everything else is the score that you give yourself in your own head. And you can change that as much as you want, and it'll influence whether or not you do well in the job, whether you do well in the role that you're doing, whether you jump far enough in the competition, whether you drive quick enough, whether you play well enough. It's all influenced by that inner dialogue that you give yourself. And if you start questioning that and the reasoning behind it, why you haven't gone above or below a number, rather than the actual rate, because the rating's bullshit. Like it's always bullshit, isn't it? You know, even if you think about Maria and this kid, how are you for this? She's answering that question based on how much she really wants to go and tidy a room, which is not going to be really high. But if you ask her about the difference in the gap, then she talks about all the reasons why it might be a good idea to go and tidy a room. So it makes loads of sense.
I think with this as well, it's just so much easier to put things in context with the human brain in numbers than in words, because numbers are basically 1 to 10 and then multiples of. Words are almost infinite. So I find people find it a lot easier to have clarity in that. And it's not the number question, it's the follow-up question that gets all the power. I watched do you ever watch The Great British Menu? The Cooker and Bro love that. And you notice loads of the professional chefs that come and give them feedback say they make them grade their meal. What would you give this out of 10? Before they've even eaten it, I'd give it a 7. And then they go, okay, where are those 3 points missing? And that chef immediately go, oh, well, it's too cold. I probably shouldn't have used Kit Kats. That's not very Michelin star of me. There's not enough Pringles in the sandwich, or whatever it might be. But they immediately come up with solutions, which if you're leading a sales team, coaching a sales team right now, that's your sole job, is you are helping people come up with actionable solutions to move forward. And 2 simple questions can get somebody straight there. So yeah, great share. Love that.
Last one was one that I shared, which was from Matt Green. And this is about pricing. And he says, folks, if you ever get pushback on price from a prospect, don't say something like, let me check with my manager. Here are a few phrases that work better. So we love posts which give you practical tips. We love ones which share things you can actually use today to go and get better, to get more sales. The 3 that Matt shares are: 1, let me think about how we've structured this for similar customers. Number 2, I want to make sure to get this right for you. Give me until tomorrow. And number 3, that's outside our standard terms, but let me see what's possible. And the reason why I like this and I brought it up and I want to have a conversation about it is, I think so many times when I speak to people or I hear people talking about stuff, they think negotiation is where you reduce what your price is. Like, I was speaking to someone recently about negotiation training, and I asked them to tell me what the usual process is. And the genuine usual process was, when the lead comes in, offer them a discount when you first speak to them. And I was like, what? Why don't you just have that cost as your actual cost on your advert, and you don't have to have this awkward, shitty conversation? Matt goes on to say, these might all sound the same, but let's buys your time without giving up authority. And this is the key thing for me with this. Like, I always talk to people, if you're ever in a conversation where you're doing a negotiation and sales, you've got to feel like you're at the same level. When you do, let me speak to your manager, let me phone my manager, let me see if we can get a discount. Some people are like that because they like to feel like they've won, but loads of people will be losing their confidence in you as a seller to be able to get this over the line for them. And you then become subservient to that prospect and start doing stuff like discounting and reducing costs all the time. He does mention some better phrase to use. He also says that if you're coaching for managers, you should coach reps' objections by auditing which objections reps can decide on themselves by versus what truly needs escalating. So it's a really interesting point, is finding out if, one of the things we often talk about is how do you do this as a seller? How do you coach this as well is really important. And the other one is, if they want an extended payment terms or extra product, spell out what must change elsewhere to accommodate it. And that's really important, because that's the thing you need to do. Is the amount of times when people have said to me in the past, is that the best price that you can do? And I used to say, yeah, or I'd say, no, I can get you a discount. I'd lose. When I said, no, I can do a better price, but you don't get all the stuff. Then they go, oh no, I need all the stuff. So you're back at the point of, yeah, okay, so that's the fucking price for all the stuff. Because sometimes you just need to be firm with someone in the conversation. Susie, what about you? What kind of stuff are you doing around pricing and getting asked for reduced terms?
Love this post, and one of the reasons I love it is there's lots of angles in it, so it's well worth a read to kind of get the full whammy of what is being said by Matt Green here. So I guess the question you asked is, what am I seeing? So I am seeing a lot still people saying we lost that deal because of price. And I think this is where if we're not careful, we go into that not being able to differentiate ourselves against like what else is in there. So I think there's a few suggestions here, which are great responses or questions to ask when you're getting pushed down that price route. So this is for anyone who's reading the post later, point 2 of his post, where it says build a response library for common deflections. For example, the customer says your competitor is 20% cheaper. Rep then says, I'd be curious what's included in that quote. We've seen a few configurations that look cheaper up front but require add-ons later. Let me put together an apples to apples comparison for you, right? So helping the customer to compare like for like can be quite helpful there. So I just want to pick up on that one point. There's 20 things you could pick up on this post. It's a really great one. So, Chris, what stood out to you?
Not a huge lot to add, really. I'm always a fan of a post that says, really gets to the point. Here's some things you could use. And it doesn't say, use these things and you'll treble your sales and all that biff. It's just try these things. All I take from this is, if you know you're going into a situation where you are likely to hear a price objection, it is unforgivable not to have a well-rehearsed response. Like, this is bread and butter stuff. If you're in a premium product that carries a premium price and you know you're going to hit, that's more than our budget, that's more expensive than we thought, you're too expensive, it's too dear, you're going to have to do something on the price, or any iteration of, you should be out loud rehearsing and role-playing that scenario well before you get in that meeting, so you can stay calm and you can respond appropriately. To put yourself as a sales professional in that situation and go, because you've not rehearsed is kindergarten level. It's unforgivable. It takes 10 minutes. Do it. Yeah. Love the responses from Matt there. And I like what you said, Leon, as well. When it comes to negotiation, it's staying on a level with people. And you're so right that I'll have to ask my manager. As a professional buyer, I would just immediately think, well, why aren't I dealing with your manager? Why are you even here?
Yeah.
Not like when you phone customer services for something and the customer service agent says, oh, I'm not allowed to deal with that. Right. Well, why have I been given your phone number then? Why aren't I speaking to somebody who can help me? And you just completely ruin everything with that kind of approach. So yeah, nice one, Matt. Thanks for sharing that, mate.
Cool. I want to do a little wrap up in that I'm trying to find some themes here because we know Susie loves a good theme. Julian himself was talking about your inner monologue or dialogue, what you're telling yourself. Mr. Pink was talking about negotiating and how we use scale to make sure the negotiation goes well. And then Matt was talking about negotiating and making sure you stay on top. So I'm going to say our theme today is confident negotiating.
I love that. I hope everybody's doing some of that coming up to Christmas, coming to the end of Q4. Hope there's some mad, confident negotiations going on.
Yes, definitely. If we don't catch up with you before, please do confidently negotiate lots of chocolate, sprouts, and turkey for your Christmas lunch.